celebrating 75 years of the National Federation of the Blind, United Kingdom. Introduction by Andrew Hodgson, current President.
The National Federation of the Blind of the United Kingdom was formally established in London on Saturday, the 21st of June, 1947, to promote the welfare of blind and partially sighted people, particularly as regards education, mobility, and employment. The Federation is a campaigning organisation and not in competition with agencies providing services for blind and partially sighted people. Today, it has over 500 members across the UK within 10 branches. Although the majority of its impact is through campaigning, we also encourage peer support through social activities. For example, this year, the London branch is also celebrating its 45th Eastbourne weekend in October. Around the UK, branches are raising awareness of NFBUK by working in collaboration with other organisations to ensure the needs of blind and partially sighted people are recognised.
NFBUK past presidents. Jack Servant was chairman of the Executive Council 1947 to 1948. Dr. E. G. Dowdall 1948 to 1953. Right Honourable Lord Kenswood 1953 to 1954. John Wilson 1954 to 1959. Dr. Anthony L. De Silva 1959 to 1964. Duncan A. Watson 1964 to 1967. Kenneth R. Whitton, 1967 to 1970. Acting Joint Presidents Stan Lovell and Dr. Fred Reid, 1970 to 1972. Dr. Fred Reid, 1972 to 1975.
My name is Fred Reid, just in case anybody doesn't know me. I had the honour to be the president of the Federation between 1972 and 1975. And I like to look back on it as the time when we set out to make the Federation reach its highest level of membership and the zenith of its influence in the blind community. And I think we achieved that by setting out a 5-point programme, a vision for the transformation of the situation of blind people in British society. And the 5 points, I call them the 5 pillars of an integrating society. The 5 points were education, mainstream education, employment, supported employment, social care, especially rehabilitation, income, the blindness allowance, which we converted into disabled living allowance in accordance with the campaign of a disabled income group, and the democratization of voluntary organizations that had responsibility for delivering services to us and speaking in our name. The slogan, nothing about us without us, encapsulates that, I think. These were the directions we set out on, and we set up a range of 5 strong committees under the leadership of leading members of the Federation, and drew in the talents of the new members that were flooding into the organization. And the question, I think, for us this year is, how far have we come and what remains to be done? I think we've made progress, but I don't think anybody would claim that we've achieved it all. And maybe the time has come to sit down and have a really good think about how far we've come and how far we could go. And I don't think we, just as the Federation, should do that. We should perhaps hold a convention to which we can invite as many people from other organizations of blind people as we can find, and ask them to tell us what they think we've achieved and what they think we haven't achieved, and what we've got to do to achieve that fully integrated society that has always been our dream.
Charles Taylor, 1975 to 1979. Lord Colin Lowe, 1979 to 1982.
My name is Colin Lowe. I was president of the National Federation of the Blind of the United Kingdom from 1979 to 82. Before that, I was General Secretary and Vice President, so I knew the Federation pretty well. I can't put my finger on a particular priority we were campaigning on during my term, but shortly before I took up office, we identified 5 priorities we were campaigning on: education for more integrated provision, employment for better access to jobs, environment for safer and more untrammeled access to the streets, for financial compensation for the extra costs of blindness, and for a greater say on matters of blind welfare. How did we do? Well, there's certainly a lot more integrated provision in education, though whether it is as well resourced as it should be is another matter. There's obviously still a lot to do there. Our aspirations for financial compensation were largely met once blind people were admitted to the higher mobility component of disability living allowance. On the other points, I think our aspirations have largely been recognised by public policy, though how far they have been met in practice is another matter. I have recently become involved in the Support for Sight Loss campaign. This is obviously a long-term issue on which campaigning will probably never come to an end. It's also important that we work collaboratively with other organisations to ensure that our campaigning has the broadest possible level of support. I shall certainly be at pains to use my position in the House of Lords to ensure that we have the maximum possible level of heavyweight support. I'm not sure how much we achieved, but I think we certainly raised the Federation's profile, and the rationalisation of our campaigns in the way I've just described created a firmer framework for future campaigning. If I had my time again, I would have hastened the process of recruiting professional staff instead of expecting the trustees to do everything. But however that may be, I think the Federation is an important vehicle for channeling the views and aspirations of blind and partially sighted people.
David Mann, 1982 to 1985.
Hello, I'm David Mann. I joined the Bristol branch of the Federation in the early 1970s, moved to London branch when I moved to London, and moved to Central branch when I moved out of London. I was president between 1982 and 1985, a period which culminated in an invitation for me to both attend and speak at the National Convention of the NFB USA in Louisville, Kentucky in July 1985. One of the main themes of my presidency probably was the coming together for campaigning activities of the National League of the Blind and Disabled, who at the time were a very important trade union, RNIB and ourselves. RNIB were only just starting to get involved in campaigning at that stage. And the most practical example of this collaboration was a massive lobby of Parliament hoping to achieve a blindness allowance, which eventually was realised through the disability living allowance. This saw the Federation at its best, with minibus loads of people coming down from a number of different branches to lobby their members of Parliament and to take part in a mass meeting in Parliament, while simultaneously various delegations of us went off to meet the Prime Minister and other relevant senior politicians. And that's the only occasion on which I've got beyond the big black door of Downing Street. As I say, that showed the grassroots, which is or has always been, I think, the Federation's strength. At that time, if only because RNIB was not really a campaigning organisation then, we campaigned on everything: education, employment, social services, social security, public transport, all important issues, but maybe they stretched us too far. And I think maybe now we are right as an organisation to to focus more on a few, or relatively few, specific issues, ones which affect us all in our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day attempts to get out and about. So I think in the future, that's where the Federation should be focusing. Its strengths is its grassroots, its strengths is being able to get people out on the streets once we've cleared the streets, and to, as I say, bring everyone's attention, public and politicians, to all those issues. So I'm sure I've taken up my time, so I'd like to wish everybody a happy and constructive weekend and wish the Federation every success in the next 75 years. And just remember that there should be nothing about us without us. Thank you.
Charles Taylor, 1985 to 1987. Martin Milligan, 1987 to 1988. Bill Poole, 1989 to 1992. Jill Allen King, 1992 to 1995. Canel Jebby, 1995 to 1998. Kathy Cash, 1999 to 2000. Acting President Carol Borowski, 2000. Bill Poole, 2001 to 2005. Peter Westwood, 2005 to 2008. Norma Town, 2008 to March 2010. Emily Brothers, March 2010 to January 2013. Douglas Gilroy, 2013 to 2016.
Hello Federation members, my name is Douglas Gilroy. I had the privilege and honour to serve as your president from 2013 to 2016. At the time I became president, the world was facing the aftermath of one of the worst financial crash or crisis society had experienced in living memory. I therefore saw my priorities for the Federation as being to lay a calming influence on the Federation and its work, to ensure that prudence was observed, to revise, review, strengthen and improve our campaigning. To this end, we appointed a person to act as our campaigns and policies coordinator. Unfortunately, I do not think this post has fully realised the potential and benefit that was hoped for at the time of the appointment. Turning next to the present and future of the Federation, I would say that there was as much need for the Federation today as there was when it was established 75 years ago. Indeed, some would argue that there's an even greater need for the Federation today and in the future than there was then. I would offer some advice to younger and newer members of the Federation, and that is be prepared for no quick fixes, but to be prepared to have a long, hard slog. Be always prepared to work as a team member, that is both internally and externally, and above all to work jointly and collaboratively with as wide a range of individuals, bodies and organisations as possible in society in order to bring about and achieve your objectives. The baton or challenge for the future has now been passed to your hands, and I trust and hope that you will succeed, and wish you every good luck in your endeavours, and hope that you do succeed in bringing about these much needed benefits and changes in society for blind, partially sighted people. Bearing in mind one phrase, which is nothing about us without us.
Andrew Hodgson, 2016 to 2022. Prepared and presented by Vicky Blenko, NFB, London branch member.